Hello and welcome. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the 10 signs. I mean, there's more than 10, but we're going to be talking about 10 signs to let you know whether or not you are a twin flame or if you are in a twin flame relationship. So in case you've been hearing about this twin flame phenomenon, and you're still trying to figure out, is this who you are? What does it mean? What are these feelings that I'm having? I'm going to let you know, once and for all. If you can identify with these 10 aspects of the twin flame relationship, you'll know that you are a twin flame. Then what I'm going to do is contrast that with a psychologist's understanding of what is an unhealthy, obsessive, dysfunctional relationship mindset. And you're going to see, when you look at these side by side, you're going to see there's a huge difference. All right, because there's a lot of people out there that don't understand. They're not twin flames, so of course they don't understand. They don't understand what it means to be a twin flame or to be in a twin flame relationship. Maybe you've run into this. You've tried to explain to people what it is to be a twin flame, and people just say, that just sounds nuts. You're trying to tell your friends or your family, maybe even your twin flame. You even, if you're, the divine feminine and you're in touch with this, because some people are divine feminine and masculine regardless of their sex, and you've connected with your divine masculine counterpart, and you've tried to tell him or her that, hey, we're twin flames, and they don't get it, and they say, that just sounds really, unhealthy or whatever it is. I'm going to be able to show you side by side the difference between a true spiritual twin flame and a twin flame connection, and what we all know. There are lots of crazy stalker nutcases out there, and you'll be able to see the difference very clearly. So, before we get into that, first thing we have to do is we have to be able to understand what a twin flame is. A lot of people don't even know what a twin flame is. There's a difference between a twin flame relationship and a soulmate relationship, and I won't get into that in this video, but there's a big difference. So if you're a twin flame, what you need to understand is that when the universe was being created and when human souls come to being, because human souls are constantly being brought into being. The wise masters, when they've achieved union, especially if they're twin flames and they've achieved union and they're no longer in the physical realm, they go back into the union of perfection. And then that soul energy is recycled, if you will, and another soul comes out. And so every now and then there will be a soul that has concentrated intensity in it. And so the universe, or God, however you want to look at it, it takes these very special supercharged souls and splits them. So that, because the universe is a place of balance. And so, and the universe is very conservative with its energy. So when a soul comes out that is this intense, the universe says, we need to take this soul and we need to use it to help the rest of life evolve. Because what this means is that this is a soul whose essence is already beginning the process of like hyper evolution. It's the next level, because souls are always advancing. The universe is always evolving. And so these souls then are targeted by the universe, and they're split. And they're split so that that intensity can then go off and help heal and help evolve the rest of the world, instead of taking all that energy, and wasting it in one spot. It's moved into multiple lives. Now, this tends to create, obviously challenges for that soul, because that soul is always wanting to reconnect with itself. So if you are a twin flame, you need to realize that you are in fact special. You're a very special individual. And so it's very possible that you don't connect with the average person. When you love and appreciate, you don't look down on anybody because of your twin flame connection. Of course, you may have gone through issues in your life, but you know that you are in a universe that is full of love, and you have this love for all beings. And so you can see, even though that you love these people, you feel that you are equal to them in many ways, you can sense that they have this ease about them as they go through this three-dimensional world, and they, go to their job, and they go and they watch television, and they get married and have kids and it just seems to be like they're trapped in three dimensions. You are in multiple dimensions all the time. You live in this 5-dimensional, 9-dimensional existence. And so for you, it's hard to connect because you want to talk about things that they may not understand. You feel things so intensely, more intensely than most people. So it's hard for you to make these kinds of connections. And so as a result of that, you're constantly feeling that there is that other part of you, that is your other half, that you can connect with. And you can feel it. You can feel that other part of you out there in the world. He or she is out there. You can feel it. And you know that someday you will be reunited with them. And until then, you have to trudge on alone without them and do your spiritual work. So you have to understand this. There is a difference. So if you're watching this and it doesn't make any sense to you, you're probably not a twin flame. That's okay. That's all right. If you do understand what I'm saying, then there's a good chance that you are a twin flame, and it's important that you listen. So here are the 10 symptoms, if you will, the 10 things that let you know that you are a twin flame. These aren't the only things, but these are at least 10 of them. All right? So as I said before, the first one is there's this feeling that your other half, that perfect other part of you, is out there, and you can feel him or her. Perhaps when you were a little kid, maybe if you're physically a girl and you played with dolls, maybe you had your Barbie and your Ken doll. It wasn't just playing for you. For you, you were actually rehearsing the reunion of your twin flame. And that feeling that you had when you were playing those games with those dolls, that never left. Everybody else grows out of it. No, it's just playing with dolls. But you never outgrew that knowledge, that deep knowledge that you weren't just playing a game. You were getting prepared. Your soul knew. And so there's still that feeling. And you can have this connection. Maybe you've met your twin flame. If you haven't met them in person, you've met them in dreams. Maybe you've dreamt about them. I had that experience. Perhaps when you go into meditation, you're a spiritual person. Maybe you practice yoga or meditation, or you do other kinds of shamanic work. And when you go into trance, your twin flame, you can see him or her, and you can feel and communicate. And every time you do, you feel that the relationship has gone to the next level. And it's as if you're preparing, that each of you are meeting in the spirit world in the 5th dimension to prepare for this upcoming reunion. So that's the first one, that you meet your twin flame in dreams, visions, or meditations. The second symptom is when you do meet them, or when you think about them, there is this intense attraction. It is an attraction that, especially when you've met them, it's like your heart skips a beat, and you're like, and you've never felt anything like this before. An intense attraction, so much so that after you've met them, maybe you met them at a party or something like that. You go home, it's like you're still feeling it and thinking about it, and you have to kind of hold yourself. Wow. And it can be really intense and frightening, and your whole world can start feeling like it's coming apart. Okay, the third sign, and this is the feeling that you've known your whole life. When you connect with them, even if it's just a little bit, but you start talking with them and get to know them, there's this knowledge. That's my other half. You just know it. You know deep in, there's nothing, unless you've experienced, nobody will ever understand what you're talking about. That's your other half. Period. End of discussion. Okay? Fourth sign. This is a feeling that your relationship with your partner, and you've known this your whole life, even when you have dreamt about your twin flame or meditated about them or connected with them on the spiritual, on the fifth dimension. There's a feeling that your relationship with your twin flame has a significance that goes beyond the normal physical connections of relationships. You have this sense that your connection, both when you're apart, but especially when you're together, is you are here to accomplish something very powerful. You have a spiritual mission. It's more than just a connection and a relationship and all that. Your connection means that when you connect and you are both on your game, the rest of the universe is going to evolve to the next level. Your relationship with them is extremely important to the whole universe, and you can feel it. Okay? That's the fourth indicator. The fifth indicator. When you meet your twin flame, and maybe even before you met, you can feel what's going on with them emotionally. You can tell when they're sad, you can tell when they're happy, you can tell when they're sick. You know exactly when to pick up the phone and call them. You'll sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with an intuitive connection of, oh my gosh, my partner's sad right now. Pick up the phone and call them. Or, if you're not able to connect with them on the phone, you're able to go into a meditative state and connect with them emotionally, and you know that you can heal and connect, and you have that strong intuitive connection that is never broken. All right? The sixth indicator. This is, happens sometimes almost immediately, but you meet them and you know. There's this deja vu. I've known you for multiple lives. There's feeling of just being home, feeling of just being back with yourself, and this feeling of we've known each other for eternity, for multiple lifetimes, and I've been waiting for you in this lifetime, and now you're here. And it's just like you're starting, you don't even really have to get to know each other. Maybe there's a few details here and there. I was born here, my mom this, and whatever. But other than that, there's this feeling of, I already know everything about you, and I can remember past life incidents with you. This deja vu, this feeling, you've known this person forever. That's a sign that you're a twin flame. Now, the seventh indicator is that when you have all these things start to happen, there's going to be this intense intimacy that's going to arise. And you're going to become aware, like you will be spiritually stimulated and awakened on so many different levels, and parts of your awareness will come alive that you didn't even know that were there, and it will become almost overwhelming. You don't know where you stop and the other person begins, and then there will be this feeling of what happens if the relationship doesn't work? What happens if my partner doesn't feel what I can clearly see? And then there can be a fear. There can be this fear that the relationship, that your partner might not be able to meet you on that level. And so it can create some anxiety. All right? And then the eighth indicator. This happens a lot. This is usually with the divine masculine, because they are the more physically grounded. But the divine feminine partner usually is more spiritual. The divine masculine is more physically grounded. They will go through this same spiritual dynamic awakening, which will awaken them on multiple levels, and that may be really intense and frightening for them. And so that may stimulate them to start second guessing the relationship, and they may leave. Very often they do. The intense intimacy for them makes them leave. Not every time, but sometimes. We know this as the divine runner, right? So, then the ninth indicator. This doesn't happen all the time, but it sometimes does. If the divine masculine does run from the relationship, they may even get into another relationship. They may even get married and have kids. But you'll still know. You will know that they're your other half. And you may want to it may be challenging because you want to stay friends with them. And you'll stay friends with them, but you'll know inside that this is this is my other half, and he's married. And you can see in the relationship, maybe there's some karmic connection that's a soulmate that they have to work through things, and that can be really tough on you because you see it. Maybe you bump into a couple other soulmates, but it's just not the same, and you keep going back and thinking about them. You really have to be really conscious so that you don't do anything to screw up the karmic resolution that has to happen between them and their current relationship. Okay, so that doesn't happen all the time, but that does happen sometime. That's the ninth indicator. The 10th indicator, and this is what absolutely clinches it. If you can relate to this, you're absolutely a twin flame. Even after your divine masculine partner has moved on, temporarily and doesn't remember the connection, and you have to wait for the reunion, they've moved on and they are in another relationship. You then can take the spiritual connection. Now you let them have their physical connection. He has to go through a karmic physical 3-dimensional connection with someone else. But you can then do your spiritual work and rise to the 5th dimension, where you work on your connection with them, where you can connect with the spiritual 5th dimensional essence of your twin flame. You can continue the relationship, continue working on yourself, and the more that you do and the more that you meet on that level and continue to work and grow spiritually, your divine masculine twin flame will become aware and will seek you out, and then you will have reunion, hopefully in this lifetime. If you can relate to what I just said, then you're definitely a twin flame. Okay? So this isn't, everything there is to know about twin flames, but this is part of it. So then, now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to compare it with what I've seen online from psychologists about the mindset of a dysfunctional, obsessive, compulsive stalker type person. And you'll see the difference, because if people have said that to you, that, what you're talking about is just, obsessive, compulsive, it's not real, I'm going to tell you the difference. I'm going to give you there are 10 signs, same thing, as it so happens. 10 signs of an unhealthy, dysfunctional, obsessive mindset, an unhealthy mindset towards relationships. All right, so the person who ends up having this unhealthy, dysfunctional mindset is somebody who has usually gone through some major trauma. Usually as a child, they've gone through some major trauma. Now, this happens to be something that a lot of twin flames have, but that's for a different reason. It's because their soul has come to experience a lot of intensity so that they can grow, but it's not the same. They're not wounded and broken like this. We're talking about people who are, psychologically and perhaps even mentally, impaired. So this is somebody, the unhealthy person is somebody who's gone through trauma and has not weathered it well. They weren't able to make it out of the trauma, and as a result of it, they have a split. They emotionally split. They have a sociopathic. They're not always sociopathic, but they have a sociopathic aspect to them, which means that they don't empathize with others very well. So they have this narcissistic feeling of spiritual superiority over other people. And so they look down at the rest of the world and they see themselves as alone in the world and all of that. So they don't have the love that normal people have. They feel different and superior. And so they feel like, their relationship is going to be sort of out of the realms of the human norm. All right, so there are 10 symptoms of this unhealthy, dysfunctional mindset and relationship. The first one is the person has an unhealthy fantasy life about an unrealistic, perfect partner. So this is somebody who doesn't even realize, that they don't see any faults within themselves because they're sociopathic. They've had a break from reality because of some major trauma that they went through. And so as a result of that, they're incapable of seeing any faults within themselves. They already see themselves as this spiritually superior being. And so they create an unhealthy fantasy life, even as little kids. They create this unhealthy fantasy life about this perfect partner that doesn't have any problems and is just like them, thinks like they do, feels like they do, everything else is the same. It's just pure projection. They just project themselves. If they could clone themselves and make love to themselves, they would. They just project themselves onto this unrealistic, imagine, this non-existent, perfect lover. Okay, and this can happen in childhood, but it definitely, as they go on through life, they're less capable of functioning. They can't create healthy relationships. They get further and further isolated from society, and they withdraw into this narcissistic fantasy life. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one is, when they meet somebody, because they have deep needs underneath all of that narcissistic feeling of superiority, underneath that there is a deep lack of connection, and what they crave intimacy in a really unhealthy way. And so they're like drug addicts waiting for a fix. As soon as somebody comes into their life, boom, they have this overwhelming obsession about this person from the moment that they meet them. It's an overwhelming obsession with them, and they can't shake it. They've decided that's that perfect person. I know who that is, and they may mold themselves. They may change their personality. They may become manipulative. They'll do whatever it takes to get that person to love them. They're very good at that. So the second one is they have an overwhelming obsession for their object, which is really their own projection of themselves. Okay, the third symptom is that once they meet that person, they have this feeling that they are incomplete without that person, that their life doesn't have meaning without them, and they can't function. They know that all of their problems is based because they're not with that other person, that other, that perfect, unrealistic partner they've created, which they've projected onto whoever they've met. God help that person. And so they may slip into depression, they may slip into drug addiction, they may not be able to do their work, they can't function, maybe their hygiene goes to hell, it gets really crazy. So that's the third symptom. The fourth symptom is that then they start to develop intense anxiety over the separation. And they then go through this intense fear of abandonment from the other person. So much so they're calling them all the time. They're trying to, whatever it is to, what are you thinking? What are you doing? When can I see you next? I know you're with somebody else. It's because they're just desperately afraid that they're going to be abandoned by the person that they've decided who is going to fix all their problems. Okay, 5. There is an obsessive focus on how the other person is thinking and feeling. And so they may start to try and predict what the person is thinking, what they're feeling, what they're about to say, those kinds of things. And they may go through this delusion that they're psychic, that they can get into the other person's head and know what they're thinking and feeling. Okay? 6. There's an unrealistic delusion that they know what is best for their object of affection. They know what they should wear, what they should do, where they should go in life. They know they should be with them. They start planning out their whole life and telling them what to do, showing up with shoes. Here's the shoes you should wear, leaving gifts, giving them gifts for things that they've never asked for, this kind of thing. An unrealistic delusion that they know what is best for their partner. 7. Now, one of the things that can happen is with the intensity of the unhealthy person's obsession with them. The thing about these kinds of people, and you see this with people who have borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, that when they become obsessed with somebody in the beginning, they're actually very um, very charming and very convincing, and they can really seduce you, very seductive and very sexual, and they study the person and know exactly what they want. And in the beginning, the other person can think, wow, I've met the perfect person, until they find out, oh, holy crap, I've just found a stalker. And then they realize that the other person is nuts. And that awareness then, of course, is going to create their desire to leave the relationship. And so they start distancing or leaving the relationship altogether. So the unhealthy obsession of the narcissistic person creates a very understandable desire for the other person to leave. And that's when people can get stalked, they can get hurt, and then you have to call the police and get a restraining order. It can be really intense. All right, and the 8th symptom. This goes with the second one. The partner starts complaining outright that, this is unhealthy. What you're doing to me is unhealthy. They get, like I said, restraining orders, all that. I think I already said that. I put 7 and 8 together. Forgive me. Number 9. Once the object the object of affection has successfully broken off all contact and left the other person, maybe they've blocked them on their phone, or they've moved to another city or something like that, then the obsessed person seeks to continue to have communication and may even seek to sabotage the relationship. And this can go on for years. The person can get married and have kids, and this person, after, stalking them, can still find them. I mean, like Basic Instinct. You remember the rabbit scene? That kind of stuff. This is what we're talking about. This is the sign of somebody who's really delusional and screwed up and messed up. Okay, and then the 10th. Even when there's no hope of reconciliation, like they're in prison. Let's say they end up in prison because they, cooked a rabbit or something and put it on the doorstep or whatever it is, or God forbid, something even worse. When there's no hope of reconciliation, then the narcissistic person will create a fantasy world where they are still together in perfect union with their partner. And they'll say things like, yes, but we are still together on the spiritual realm. Okay? So there are the differences. So let's go through them one by one so you can see that this isn't the same thing. So the first thing is, if you're a twin flame, you are a soul that has been, when you came into existence, there was such intense spiritual power within you that the universe had to split you into two, so that spiritual power could go throughout the whole world and bless and help everybody involved. Okay? You're a highly evolved spiritual being that's super intense, so intense that the universe had to split you into two. The unhealthy one, contrasting that, is somebody who has a sociopathic lack of empathy for others and this feeling of superiority over others. So what they share in common is that the twin flame feels a disconnection, but it's because of the intensity of their spiritual connection to source. And so the mundane, three-dimensional, they don't relate to them, but they still love them. They still love everybody equally. The person with, like narcissistic personality disorder, they have this narcissistic disconnect and a feeling of superiority over others. So you can see the difference there, right? Okay, now let's go to the first one, the twin flame. The first criteria of being a twin flame is that you meet your partner in dreams and visions and meditations. Even from the time you're a little kid, you know that your other half is out there. You have this connection with them. You can feel them even if you've never met them before, and you know that you're destined. That someday there's this feeling on some level that you will meet them and connect. The unhealthy narcissist has an unhealthy fantasy life with an unrealistic perfect partner that no human can ever meet that standard. So you can see the difference there. All right. The second criteria for a twin flame. There's an intense attraction. As soon as you meet them, there's an intense, overwhelming attraction that you've never felt before. It can be blissful, it can be frightening, it's amazing, but it's something you've never felt before. Okay, for the unhealthy person, there is an overwhelming obsession for the other person from the moment that they meet. So you can see how people are making the mistake? They sound alike, but they're actually quite different. You see that? All right, the third, for the twin flame, there's a feeling that your partner is in fact the other half of your soul. You can't escape that feeling. There it is. You've gone through your whole life. You haven't met your other half. You meet this person and you weren't looking for it, but there it is. You can feel this person is your other half. You know it. You don't even really know what to. Should you tell them? Maybe not. Maybe that'll freak them out, but you can feel it. You know that they're your other half. The narcissistic person, the third trait, they have this unhealthy feeling that they're not complete without their object of affection. So they're not complete within themselves until they think they meet this other person, and then that other person is responsible for them to feel complete. You can see how that's going to cause all kinds of dysfunction. You can see the difference there, right? Okay, for the twin flame, the fourth, there's this feeling of constant intuitive connection to your partner's thoughts and feelings. You know how they think, you know how they feel. You can feel when they're sad, when they're happy. You know exactly when to call them and exactly when to text them. You talk to them the next day and you go, how are you feeling at 3 o'clock? Well, I was feeling a little unhappy. I could feel that. I knew that. It's because you got this, because it's your other half of your soul. There's always that intuitive connection. You can't break that. Okay. The fourth, for the narcissistic, obsessive person, fourth trait is that there's intense anxiety at the thought that the relationship might not work. This fear of abandonment comes up. So you can see the difference there. The twin flame has an intuitive connection and can feel what's going on with the other person and feel their thoughts and their feelings, whereas the narcissistic person has an anxiety over the separation, and as a result of that creates this false idea that they have to figure out, do they still love me? Are they still thinking about me? See the difference there, right? Okay, 5. There's this feeling, I think I might have gotten these out of order, but I'll see if I can do this right. 6, sorry, we're at 6 now. I think we're at 6. 6, there's this feeling of deja vu or past life connection. This is with the soulmate. With the twin flame. There's a feeling, there's a knowing. I've known you. I can feel it. I look at you as soon as the way you talk, the way you move, I can feel it. There's a past life connection. I've known you for multiple past lives. And we're back together again. And it's just, I'm home. And, that's the way it is. Again, sometimes you can't tell them at first when you first meet them because you don't know if they're going to freak out or not. Especially if they're the divine masculine counterpart. You got to be careful. All right, so 6. The dysfunctional, the narcissist, has an unrealistic delusion that they know what's best for their partner. They know exactly how they should dress, what they should do. This kind of narcissistic, I already know what you need and what you want. You can see the difference there, right? Okay. All right, number 7. For the twin flame, there's an intense intimacy that may bring up feelings of anxiety about what you guys are going to do together. What happens if we don't come together? There comes some anxiety because you become aware, spiritually aware of the magnitude of the importance of this relationship. Okay? And number 7, for the dysfunctional person, the crazy person, the intensity of the obsession creates a tremendous fear of abandonment. And so that intensifies their obsession even more. So you can see the difference there, right? Okay, number 8. When this happens with your divine masculine counterpart, the intense intimacy that both of you share may be too much. He may not be ready. He may not be ready to really take a look at himself and take a look at the spiritual purpose that the two of you have. You know, he's just been trying to live in three-dimensional reality, and now he's being forced into this, you know, multi-dimensional existence where, you know, he has a lot of responsibility, and males feel that, and this could freak him out, and he may want to leave. He may run away, the divine runner. In the obsessive compulsive, the narcissist, the partner may start complaining about the obsessive behavior, and they may start feeling smothered, and they may seek to distance themselves or leave too. Now, this kind of looks the same, but you can see the difference. There's a difference here, right? You can see it. It may be subtle, but you can tell that there's a difference. All right. Number 9, if you're a twin flame, when your partner, the divine runner, has started another relationship, they might even have gotten married, you can still feel that there's a connection, and even though you hold back and you behave appropriately, maybe there's contact, maybe there isn't, but you hold back because you know that they have to work things out temporarily with that other, you know, soulmate connection, and that they're going to be back, and you have to work on yourself to keep yourself. You may be challenging. You may not even be able to be in another relationship because you have to work on yourself to be able to be ready for when your partner awakens. And your partner will awaken as a result of your self-work. Okay, number 9, the obsessed person, the narcissist. The obsessed person may seek to continue communication or even seek to sabotage their object of affection's other relationship even after they've moved on. They might even break the law and do all kinds of horrible, stocky things. So you can see the difference there, right? On the one hand, you're working on yourself. You don't intrude. That's a twin flame. An obsessed, crazy person will get in there and sabotage the relationship and do crazy things, right? You can see there's a big difference there. All right. And then, so number 9, even when, I already talked about that. So I'm getting the numbers mixed up, but I'm trying to do my best. So the last one, number 10. You will continue to grow on the 5th dimensional level with the spiritual essence of your twin flame, even if they have moved on and have broken off all contact or married, have kids. You will continue to work that connection because you know the importance of the spiritual connection that you have with your twin flame. And even if they're not in your life, you will continue to do your spiritual work, to evolve yourself, and you will be able to connect with their higher harmonic level. And the two of you working together on that spiritual realm, even if it's not in the physical, that in fact will create the conditions for the ultimate reunion. Eventually your partner is going to come back to you. That short-term soulmate connection, even if it's a marriage, it's not going to work out because it's not. You're their other half. And so a lot of you are listening to me, you're in that phase where you're still doing your work, you're connecting with them on the 5th dimension, and you're letting them work out their karmic deal, but you're working to bring the reunion. And you're working to be powerful within yourself and not, feel that you need them. And this is your lesson. And the 10th and final for the dysfunctional, unhealthy person is that even when there's no hope of reconciliation, even when they've been put into jail because they were stalking and did something crazy, even then, when it's been brought to their attention that maybe they've even seen psychologists or psychotherapists, they've been shown that their behavior is dysfunctional, they will still, in denial, create a false reality where they are with their other partner. And they may even talk to people about, I was with my soulmate yesterday, and we did blah 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 blah, and everybody's like, you've been in solitary confinement. There's no way, somebody talking to the wall. That's how crazy they get. So you can see the differences here, right? One is twin flame and one is craziness. They're obviously not the same, or are they? Do me a favor. Go to loveastrology.thunderwizard.com. You want to find out if somebody's your twin flame? It's in your astrology. You want to find out if somebody is a soulmate? It's in your astrology. You want to find out how a relationship is going to work out? It's in your Vedic astrology. We really need to get realistic about this twin flame stuff. There are some things about twin flames which are accurate. I know because I've experienced it. I've shared about it. But when I hear the majority of stuff about twin flame, especially people who are talking about, I am a twin flame awaiting my reunion, I already know that they got problems, man. That is not how the universe works. I've had a twin flame, and I can tell you that's not how it works. She passed away, unfortunately. But that's not how it works. What we're talking about the majority of the time, when I hear people talking about twin flames, we're talking about people who have major psychological issues. They're in pain, they're sad, they can't deal, they can't function. And of course the divine masculine ran away from you. Of course he did. Because you were obsessive and you were superior and you were clingy and you were all kinds of things. And he went, man, I don't want any part of this. And he went off and married somebody else. Let it go already. Maybe it's just that you have issues that you need to look at. Real relationships take work, they take effort, they take compromise. And when somebody has left you and married somebody else, it means that they're not your divine twin. I mean, I guess it's possible. There might be, those things where you've met somebody in college, they got married, and then you got back together later. That does happen. But for the most part, you're sitting around in denial, having this imaginary relationship with somebody who said, hey man, I've moved on, leave me alone. You want to understand the real connection between divine masculine and feminine? Go to thunderwizard.com, scroll down on the right hand side and see divine union of masculine and feminine. What you're being told about what the divine masculine and what the divine feminine is sometimes completely opposite of what has been taught for tens of thousands of years. And this whole thing of twin flame is a brand new thing, and it's because people got bored with the idea of soulmates. And so people who were incapable of having functional relationships and were sad and lonely, they started to create the perfect environment where they could stay alone and be superior to others and still have this perfect connection and pine for somebody that doesn't exist. We need to get real. Do you want to be happy? Or do you want to hold on to this idea of twin flame and go onto YouTube and see, tarot card readings every other week about what the divine masculine is telling you today? Do you want to have a real relationship? Go to loveastrology.thunderwizard.com. Okay? Sorry for the deception, but I couldn't help myself. It's so obvious when you look at, the signs of a dysfunctional, obsessive person and the 10 signs that show that you're a twin flame. You kind of see they're the same thing. That's what we're dealing with. Twin flame, the way it's being marketed is for people who just need to go to a counselor and learn how to, get themselves together and go to the gym and feel better about themselves and start to learn how to have cooperative relationships. If you want to learn more about what a real soulmate connection is, how many you may have in this life, what I can see in your chart, what if you're going to get married, if you have multiple marriages, what they'll be like, and what you can do to preserve the relationship you're in, go to loveastrology.thunderwizard.com. If you want to learn about the divine masculine and feminine, go to thunderwizard.com, scroll on the right. If you want to see all my books, all my services, everything, which are now slashed right now because I have to pay taxes, go to courses.thunderwizard.com and subscribe, hit the bell button. Thanks. See you later.